outside of this wonderful annual event, we're going into the summer now. In the summer we go every 2 weeks, but if you look at the calendar, you'll know whether or not the meeting will be online or in person, okay? Right now, all of our competitions are done. I don't think Tom is here. One thing I did want to point out is that our spring trip is happening tomorrow. There's a few of us at the club. I think there's about 10 of us that are going. It's good. We're going down to Chincoteague. It's our spring trip. We're going to try and take some pictures of the ponies, and we don't know if we'll see them. But the rates are done for the special rate that we got, but we're all staying at the Hilton right outside of that national park, and it's listed here. So if you want to just show up and pay whatever the cost is, you can always just do that if your plans have changed. So you're welcome to come if you want to. And it's not raining, thankfully, like it was last weekend. A lot of us are breathing a sigh of relief. So please come. I think I've been with the club for nearly 20 years now, actually. And I've never been to Chincoteague, so this is going to be my first time. I'm excited. Okay. So being a member of the club, you get some benefits like that. So yes, the summer season has begun. We're going to have, actually the year-end competition is going to be Saturday, June 6th. It's closed to anyone except for just those of us who are involved in the judging. But just to make sure that if you did take any prints home over the course of the year, to bring them back, or they won't be judged in the...
Recording in progress.
Okay. June 11th, we have a board meeting, and that day is going to be really important. It's our annual feedback night and our board elections. So we have one member, Nathan Avanti, who's going to be stepping down just for, he has to drive a long way every month for the board meeting. So we do have one person who is interested, who will announce themselves then, but if there is someone who does want to have interest to be an at-large board member, then you can just declare your interest then on June 11th. Just come in person to the meeting. And then we welcome your feedback. We'll probably, Keith has put out Keith's not here tonight. Okay, so Keith put out a survey. I think that it's closed now, but we'll be looking at those survey results, and then we can always talk about them too that night. And then there's some other programs that aren't on the website, but that can be talked about later.
Read the website.
Well, that's not on the website.
Oh,
it's
not on the
empty.
website? Oh.
Yeah, we just have to put it on. Okay, so are there any announcements right now from anybody? Kenny?
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know, about 2 weeks ago we had the Gothic Fashion at my studio. That was really, really nice. June the 20th at my studio, we'll be having in-studio ballet. So if you're into shooting ballet, which there's not a lot of studios that offer that, we're one that normally offers in-studio ballet at least twice a year. So put a link on the website, on our Facebook. So if you're interested, just look at the Facebook, or you can call me directly. We have 10 seats available only, so they're going to go fast. Okay. Thank you, Stein.
Great. And then I think that for Russell and Lynn for the focal point, what's the date that content is due to you?
I don't know. That's Lynn's due.
Okay. Yeah, I think she told me June 14th. Okay. Thank you. All right. And this could be anything. A lone photo, a haiku, what are you doing these days, a meeting, club meeting, or a non-club meeting that you went to, you want to share some photos. So just because you haven't been asked to officially put in an article doesn't mean that we're not interested in having you share that with club. Anything else? All right. Wow, we finished a little early. One of the things that I did want to mention is that the board has been discussing what to do with our YouTube account, and we'll give you more information later, but I think we have like a 50 video limit to display, and we'll be trying to decide on whether or not we'll move some of those to our club access only. So that's another benefit of the club, to be able to have access to all the historic videos going forward as we add more. And one more thing. I think I sent this out as an announcement last week, but Nations Photo Lab did contact us, and we now have a special relationship with them, that the first time that you use the special code that is, with the Baltimore Camera Club, and you have to be a member to use it, I think you get $30 off of your whatever you have, whatever your order is. And then after that, you have a 25% off code. You can't use it in combination with any of their other deals, but it would be good on days if you just want to get something out and the deal. And it's not going to expire, and it's if you're a member. So that's just another good reason to try and tell 2 of your closest friends to come and become a member of the Baltimore Camera Club. So, all right, yeah.
Is the code, where can you find the code at?
I sent it out by email, but we were, I don't know if we were going to, we were going to put it in the focal point as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll be out on that. But I think that what we can do is we can put it in the new member package. That probably would be a good thing to put that in so people will know that's where they can find that. So online you can find that, and I think that's behind the member code wall, so that'll be good. All right, without further ado, I'll hand it off to Christophe. You have your mic.
I would like to warn everyone tonight that we're probably not going to have any answers for you. That we're probably going to have more questions. And I think this is the beauty of the panel. This camaraderie and wisdom rather than truth or knowledge, which is completely open at this point. We don't know what's going on anymore. So go home with questions. That's your gift tonight. Good evening and welcome to the Baltimore Camera Club's 2nd annual Photo-Culturalism panel, titled, Is This AI? And it's supposed to be in that whiny voice. Authorship, Aesthetics, and the Crisis of Trust in Photography. Tonight's event addresses a question that has moved from the periphery of photography as a technological curiosity to the center of aesthetic anxiety. What happens to photography when its correspondence to something that actually exists becomes suspect, no longer taken for granted? What happens to the role of the photographer, not simply as a maker of images, but as a witness, interpreter, editor, or storyteller? Given that photography's history is replete with various forms of mediation, like negative manipulation, editing, collaging, it always maintained a particular relationship with the visible world. Whatever its ends, a print or a post on social media, it began with a confrontation between the camera and the thing before it. Today, that relationship and the medium itself is changing. We are now squarely ensconced in unknown territories, for the good and for the not so good. How do artists navigate tools that can generate images without cameras? That's the big question. How do educators respond when authorship becomes suspect? How do institutions, competitions, and galleries establish standards without preemptively offending artists and audiences? What responsibilities do viewers carry in interpreting what they see? The fruits of artificial intelligence may convince us now that locations, events, scenes, even people that have never existed before are genuinely real. No lens, no camera, but still a world. At the same time, computational photography and increasingly automated image enhancement have transformed even conventional photography into something far more mediated than viewers realize. As a result, we find ourselves in a moment where the familiar question is no longer, is this a good photograph? Now it's become, is this even a photograph? Beneath veracity lies an even greater concern, the trust that has been built into the relationship between artist and audience. The meaningful question of this panel now becomes, can that trust be recovered? Beyond the superficialities of good and bad, beyond the maudlin nostalgia for some supposedly pure photographic past, comes the real work, confronting a genuine shift in the meaning of the medium. Tonight, we brought together a panel of artists, educators, and curators to address these concerns. There is no doubt that we will ultimately fail to settle these questions with unadulterated clarity, and that's okay. But we all, as artists ourselves, have a duty to examine the efficacy of the new technologies. So rather than reiterate the biographies of our panelists, which you've read and you should know by now, I would like each of the panelists to introduce themselves and give them a background of the work that they do and where they are at the moment. So please, Russell, please welcome Brett John Johnson, Kelli Williams, and Jenee Mathieu.
I get to go first? Sure. Okay. Where to start? Okay. I've been taking photographs since I was 16 years old. I started out making very straightforward black and white images.
Can you use the microphone? Sorry.
I started out making very straightforward black and white images. And
hit the button. Or the bottom.
oh, just push it?
No, the light comes on the side.
I'm not technologically advanced. Oh, there it is. It is on.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I can get the mic to work. Okay.
Is it supposed to be on channel 2?
One of them was 2.
No, this is 2, that's 1.
No, 1.
Okay, 2 is working, so I'll give it to you.
This is 3. This is 3.
Okay.
In proper fashion.
Thank you.
I'll use
Okay.
It's coming on now.
I'll use that.
There we go.
Is it
Yes.
this one?
Thank you. So I started out making very straightforward images. I love the darkroom. I find, I still love the darkroom. There's a magic that's, in the darkroom, and watching a print come up in a tray is just like nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
But I slowly began to get into sort of doing digital work. I moved here in 2007 and took a teaching job at Towson in photo, and so I had to learn how to do all the digital things, and the Adobe suite is sort of like something that you have to learn how to do. You have to learn how to teach it too. And so little by little, I got sucked into digital. And honestly, I would say that even way back, I was making images that people would say, a student once said, "That's not a photograph." And so I was like, "Oh, but it is. It's like a bunch of photographs all put together and mashed up." And so I'm not sure that my latest body of work would qualify for your photo show because I played around with AI a little bit as a layer. Anyway, so I also do video. I also do color work, and I guess what I like about the digital is that you can make things really big. And also, I started making installations where my images turned into objects. So I might photograph flowers in my garden, but then I printed them on tissue and silk and made an installation that you had to walk through. So that kind of thing. So I stretch the idea of photo quite a bit in my work. And I guess that's about it. So I will hand it off.
Hi. Hello, everyone. My name is Kelli Williams. I am faculty at the Maryland Institute College of Art. And I actually came to photography around the same age, doing darkroom photography. I actually wanted a guitar class, and I got photo. And now I'm a photographer-ish. I like to say I work in lens-based media. And I started working in the darkroom, and I fell in love with the darkroom, and so I decided to major in photo when I went to Morgan State University. And when I moved to digital, I actually got like really bored with like just taking a picture, and essentially to me it felt like it was done, and I realized I really liked process. I like things that take a long time to make, and so now I find myself doing stop motion animation, which is just an extension of photography. And I like to use my hands, and so I build puppets and I build sets, and I sometimes tell stories, but then I also mix my photography work with my stop motion animation, and now I work with augmented reality, so kind of combining stop motion animation and photo work. So that's why I say I feel like I work in lens-based media. Some people will say she's a photographer, some will say she's an animator, and then I would not consider myself, I guess, both and not either fully. And so a lot of my work centers around social media. I started off being really critical of social media because I feel like I grew up with social media is what I'd say. I feel like I was like the age that really saw right before social media and then saw the evolution of what it is now. But then it changed from being critical of it to it being just a core like theme in my work that is a little bit more nuanced in the beginning where it was like more critical. So yes, that's my work. I'll pass it off to you now.
Hey everyone, I'm Brett. First of all, thank you, Christophe, and the whole club here for having us. This is an interesting topic. It's funny that you mentioned wrestling by accident because I feel like a little bit of that might be happening tonight. So we'll see. So my background, I have a MFA in painting. I did not paint at all when I did my MFA. I did installation and light and sound installations. But the reason I got there was through playing with camera obscures. And just kind of really loving that sensitive light, kind of dancing on something. Then I started to take video of that and so forth. But then I went out and got a job and started working in the museum and arts cultural field. So I've 20 some years worked in arts and culture field. Started in Delaware, moved down, kind of circled, and was in DC for about 20 years, and then most recently I was the director at the Delaware Contemporary. So I kind of take a stand back approach, or a larger view of it all, I guess, and kind of like to think of it as how it kind of fits into history. I'll leave it there. Oh, the only other thing I was thinking was, I am a geriatric millennial, which just means that I was born later, or one of the early millennials, I think. But it seems like where you are, I don't know if there's any Gen Z here, but where you are on that kind of spectrum really also kind of infers where you are with this whole conversation.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you for doing my job. In case you're wondering, I'm a Gen Xer, and I don't care if you can.
We're the lost generation.
That's right. My questions tonight are broken up, I suppose, into three categories: authorship, aesthetic suspicion and visual literacy, and curation, galleries, and competitions. And this is something that I just found out about. So let's begin. Oh, by the way, we're going to have a Q&A afterwards, so you'll be able to ask your very important questions. And hopefully you've gotten around to what I haven't gotten around to, but it's only one night. In some respect, artists consider the photograph, the raw file or the negative, more of a first draft to be altered than an authoritative rendering or a one-to-one. Ansel Adams, as you know, said the negative is the score and the print is the performance. So I asked the panel, what does it mean to make a photograph in the days of artificial intelligence? At what point does assistance become authorship or co-authorship? And I guess my follow-up is a prompt a suitable proxy for the work itself? And what does ownership mean at this point? I know it's a lot. That's all that.
I mean, the first question was, I mean, to make a photograph in the age of artificial intelligence, I feel like making a photograph changed 20, 25 years ago with the invention of digital photography, or at least the mass production of digital photography. So AI is now just another element in there. So I guess the question almost has to be kind of taken into more pieces, and that's why there's other panelists.
Okay.
These are hard questions.
These are, yeah. All right, so what does it mean to make? I think prompting is not, you don't get the same result. I think there is an art to prompting with AI. Like, I've seen people make really terrible augmented reality work, and I've seen people make good augmented reality work. Like, I'm saying augmented reality, and I'm going to say, I'm thinking about AI work, also with augmented reality as well. But I've seen people make good work and not so great work, and so I would say yes, you're making an image to me. I think it's another medium. Whether you agree with the medium or not, that's up to you. But I can't say that every piece of AI work. I need to write artificial intelligence on paper. Work is not artwork. I feel like that's the. But I do think that it is when it's like coming to like the painting, like the physical skills. Like, to me, that's where it feels a little different. Like, if you're saying that this is a painting and it's augmented reality, in my opinion, anytime I say augmented reality, everybody just know I'm talking about artificial intelligence, AI work. I think it's the covertness of some of it that makes it feel not great. And so I think, I don't know if that's answering this particular question, but I definitely feel like I've seen, there's an art and there's a skill. There's even classes starting to happen that's teaching people how to use AI in a way that actually is good. So, and that's my opinion.
Okay, so I would agree. I think that what's going to happen is, we have digital art at Towson and we have photography. Okay, somewhere, and people cross the boundary there, but why not have then an AI department or an AI field where that's all you're experimenting with? You'll come up with a new aesthetic, a new way of looking at a particular kind of art. It might not be photography as we have understood it to this point, but it might actually take over as an entirely different art field in itself. This whole thing that the negative is the score is interesting to me, because I think photography is about light. It is about light hitting film, or it's about light hitting a sensor. But it is actually not the same as the manipulation of that within the computer. So there's something unique about photography in that it is a record of place and time that's inescapable. Even if that image then goes out there in the world and it ends up meaning something that isn't truthful because of where it's placed or the context in which you see it. But for me anyway, photography is unique in that it is physics. It's light hitting, a substrate or a sensor, and I think that's the truth of it. If there is a truth.
Is it Jenee?
Jenee. Like Renee.
Jenee. I agree with Jenee, and that's kind of why I prefaced my beginning with I started with camera obscures, because it's the literal translation of light into image. I think anything beyond that, then you're starting to manipulate it. Even today, I bring this as my camera everywhere, which you guys probably don't would scoff at, but it's true.
You do.
You do.
People win competitions with that.
There you go. And the reality is there's when I take a picture on this, there's already some sort of artificial intelligence in there that's manipulating it for me as I'm taking it. It's not a real direct image. It's deciding, how to make it look better for me. But to the kind of question about proxy and so forth, I think, you know, the Dadaists kind of broke the mold as far as, you know, anybody could make something and call it art. It's whether it's good art or not is really the question.
Question.
Yeah.
I hardly agree with that. And do we need a urinal to make it true? So now the question becomes is what is photography? You know, the crisis of photography, right? With artificial intelligence systems, the issue is now not so much about the right to critique the work of others or confront a bastion of prestige or genius, but whether anyone should be able to easily appropriate the archives of others to generate imagery that might borrow from their vision. So stealing, with appropriation without annotation or anything like that. Given that these concerns predate artificial intelligence, you were talking about this, like hip hop, remixing, mashups, the Dadaist collage, the beat era cut-ups. Do these new concerns mirror those art forms? And what's different?
Yeah, I don't think anything, what's the saying, nothing,
You under the sun.
no, there's nothing new under the sun, nothing new is old again, or whatever it is. But it's all the same issues, right? And I think like the U.S. Patent and U.S. Copyright Office have literal rules as like you must manipulate it by this percentage. But we all know as artists, we kind of all use our own percentage as how we go. So now I'm forgetting where to.
To me, they don't feel the same at all. I mean, I think if you think about hip hop and their sampling, you know where the sample comes from, and there's like you know,
Recognition.
it's recognition for what came before. That's what makes it interesting. Here, I feel like they're taken from artists, and a lot of artists who didn't even get recognition for their work, to train it, and then people are putting out work that looks like their work where they spent 40 hours painting and they spent some time prompting, and they literally use their image to train their work. To me, that's not the same. Like, it's not borrowing, it's not, you know, it really feels like it's stealing, and I think that's the biggest issue with augmented AI. I think that's the biggest issue with, you're gonna write AI. Artificial intelligence. I think that's the biggest issue with with the medium though, and I think that's why so many people are resistant to AI. This is the old thing. That's why people are so resistant to it though, because I was just speaking with somebody who now works in fiber art, because their work has been taken so many times. So like a painting that they made, somebody used AI to, AI to do something that looked similar to theirs, and then they put it on Etsy, and then they were selling their work. And so now they're saying, like, I'm going to work in fiber work, I'm going to be quilting, because you can't, like this, the hand is so very obvious in that. And so you have people now changing mediums because people are taking their work and reproducing it. So, you know, now, even when I'm on Etsy, I'm like, oh, is this an AI piece of art, or is this like a painting, a print of a painting? Like, these are things you have to ask, and to me, it really does feel like people are stealing a style. And so, you know, it really does, and I think it's because there's no regulation on it as well. I mean, I know people were, there was like in terms, people were like checking something, and can't think of it was one of the portfolio sites that says like you specifically can't use my work to train augmented reality AI, but it's for, but it's like a lot of people don't even know that. So people are using, you know, it really is stealing in like the terms, conditions of things.
You know, it reminds me of the Marlboro Man images that Richard Prince did. He basically, he photographed from the cigarette campaign, he photographed the photograph and then put it on display at a gallery, and it went for quite a bit of money. And I do think though he did get sued at some point, but the idea there was that he was trying to make a comment about advertising, so it was like this reflexive sort of thing. And I think that if you can use AI, almost calling attention to it to sort of raise questions in some way, that's very different than just sort of stealing somebody's style, but it's possible to do both things. So we had a student who did a really interesting thesis work where there were these immaculate things in history where rose petals fell from the sky, and of course not documented, but there was sort of a religious sort of belief that these petals had come from God. Maybe, I'm forgetting. But his thing was using AI to make photographs of those people documenting the actual event. And so they were very creepy photographs, but they were also incredibly interesting because he let you in on this sort of like, it's part of the whole thing, like, is the photograph truth? Can we use it to actually prove that there is a God? These kinds of philosophical questions are really interesting, and AI actually leads us in that direction, but it doesn't always. There's a pedestrian use of it, right? And then there's a sort of more high intellectual use of it, possibly.
Yeah, and that goes back to the question of good art, I guess.
Yeah.
But I like what you mentioned, Jenee. I wrote it down because you said you use AI as a layer at one point, which I think is a good qualifier. That if to use it in art in a good way is that it's just another brush in your set of brushes or something. That it's one part of many other parts that you use to make the art. So I think Christophe found me because we had a AI in art exhibition at our space. So similarly, we had artists that would use and everything that actually was in the exhibition was done by hand at the end, but they used AI somewhere in the process. So like one person used AI to research their genealogy, which kind of became almost metaphorical in a way, but then she went and painted the figures that the AI was describing of what they would have been like. We had another person use AI and built it into a sculpture that would then talk to the people as they walked by, but it was a closed AI loop, so it was trained on itself rather than just trained on everything in the world. So it had a real kind of attitude about it, and way of interacting with the people was very different. There's one person who was a painter, and he took images and went back. It was kind of like the old phone down the line kind of thing, where he would make a painting, he would give it to AI and say, do something with this, and he would take it back, and then he would make another painting from that, and he would put it back in the AI and say, manipulate it this way, and take it back, and he would repaint again, and kind of eventually came out with these weird paintings that were somewhat recognizable, but not really. There was some sort of symbolic imagery that made sense, but didn't really make sense. So I guess it again goes back to kind of how you use it, which is, anybody could put in a prompt. And I did that actually as an exercise as I was reading this at home. I went to ChatGPT and I said,